Hello again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Tonight I am continuing my review and recap of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Tonight is going to be a summary of episodes 5 and 6, some minor spoilers. So, episodes 5 and 6, Pickman's Model and Dreams in the Witch House. They are both based off of the works of H.P. Lovecraft. And they completely meet the expectations of that author. Why are the pauses, Movie Ninja? Well, seeing these two, if you know some of the major themes about H.P. Lovecraft's work, aside from the more troubling aspects, the major themes are madness or a point of view or knowledge beyond man's understanding. You could see this in various, the primordial means of the start of life on Earth, the Cthulhu mythos, things like that. But all of it ties into, all of it leads back into the prospects of, once again, knowledge beyond man's understanding, or some type of aspect of, madness. The characters are uncertain of the world that they now live in once they discover something that they previously did not know. And that's where Pickman's Model really picks up. You have a young painter who is he's trained in a much more classical means. He is, or at the very least, he tries and rather successfully has his career as a young portrait artist, following in the steps of more classical techniques, or at the very least working his way through then sort of turn of the 20th century, sort of early modernism, because they make reference to Impressionism. And then another student comes along, Mr. Pickman, played by Crispin Glover, actually done fairly well. Accent work is horrible, but the characterization, the physicality of the character actually comes across very well. He is showcasing portraits that are much more morbid, much more with a sort of stunning, sort of a wickedness, and that's the best way for me sort of to describe this. And this type of new point of view lasts with Pickman and scars him. It traumatizes him. It's one of those things where someone says once you've seen something, and it could be something very, very bleak, very stark, very disturbing, you can't unsee it. It's always a part of you, and because of that, it runs the risk of sort of corrupting your perspective, your point of view. Pickman's Model was okay. It was okay. It completely meets the expectations of an adaptation from an H.P. Lovecraft work, and that's why I had the pauses at the very beginning. It was okay, these are adapted from H.P. Lovecraft works. Okay, so there's not really too much you could sort of push forward as sort of you can't really bend or reinvent it so much to where it's oh, okay, this doesn't meet your exact expectations of a work from this particular author. You know exactly what this is going to be, and you have that with certain directors too. You have that with Kubrick, with Spielberg. Or you used to have it with Burton. So it meets. Okay, if I name a director or something, if you name a specific director, you know exactly what that work is going to be. And that's what you get, from this. That is, okay, these two episodes are based off works by H.P. Lovecraft, and it's so on the nose. It's so on the nose that it kind of neutralizes its tension. Now, that being said, as someone who is, fairly well-read, I will say that this is probably only an issue if you are familiar with the works of H.P. Lovecraft, So, for me, for me, they're like both of them are like decent. I haven't talked about Dreams in the Witch House yet, but I'm getting there. All I'm saying is that like they're serviceable, certainly, for what this is. But at the same time, not a whole lot of tension in that regard, and not a whole lot to sort of like say, oh wow, they did this with that material. It's like, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. Pickman's model, I should say, could have used a bit of edit work. Unfortunately, it definitely overstays its welcome. I would say that there's a certain point. There's a certain point close to the very end of the episode in Pickman's model where you can kind of like see and feel, okay, now, okay, they have this like one shot and it goes zooming down into darkness. I'm not going to say too much more than that. But then you sort of feel like, okay, the episode can end here. But it doesn't. It keeps going. And going. And going. I'm making it sound like it lasts an extra 30 minutes. It doesn't, but it felt like it did. That's not good. Like I said, its big sin is overstaying its welcome. So I mean, like it's decent. It's decent for what it is. This man, he sees the prospect of a strange, frightening new world with a frightening existence, and because of that, his entire worldview is like compromised. So, okay. I mean, that's workable. But once you get your point across, I felt like we need to stop. Okay? That's it. We're done. We've made our point. We now have to move on. And then it didn't. So, yeah, it was one of those where I use my remote and it's like, okay, how much time is left in here? It's like, oh, okay, that's not too bad, but all right. So, where are they going with this, like from further? And then it just kept on going. So I just like, like I said, I'm making it sound like it's much longer than it actually is, but kind of felt longer than it needed to be too. So what can I say? And then we have Dreams Within the Witch House. Dreams Within a Witch House actually stars Rupert Grint, and he actually does a very, very good job. Now his accent work, very good. And what it is that he plays a character who he was separated from his sister by her premature death, his twin sister. She died prematurely, and he has dedicated his life to discovering the plausible truths of an afterlife. Okay? And from this, he goes on a quest, and a psychedelic interdimensional quest to rejoin his sister. Okay, he is partially successful. And that success might... It's one of those matters where you actually have to sort of like say like, okay, even though I did give the spoiler warning at the very beginning of this, it's one of those that matters where if you even dance around the topic, it's kind of concretely known to even, a sort of like a casual listener. So, turns out breaching the plane between living and dead or undead is actually rife with terrorizing possibilities. And so, Also, the story ties in fate as an aspect, so that completely neutralized any tensions. Like, oh, okay. So, because a character has a means of predicting the future with her paintings, and she's never wrong, so... Okay. I mean, it's spelled out right there in front of us. And because of that, oh, okay. Fate, in storytelling, fate neutralizes tension. For horror, especially, tension is very necessary. And yeah, if you're telling me like, oh, okay, like in this painting, like everything will come to pass as it is, like, okay, then I guess I can skip forward. Oh, wait a second, I probably should see how this ends. just so I can just sort of like give my honest thoughts on it. And the ending for Dreams Within the Witch House is confusing. Like, there was an introduction of like a character besides the witch, the eponymous witch. I didn't know why they were there. Like, there was a minor secondary antagonist, but I didn't know what they were doing there. I mean, it's clear that like they're trying to help the witch, like, do what she's doing. But I didn't understand why they were included in any part of the story, to be honest. And the way that that particular episode ended was just odd. Like, I didn't quite understand what led us to this specific type of ending. So yeah, overall, that one was sort of like the harder disappointment. Which, I feel bad saying that, because for the most part, the acting was on spot, the dialogue was pretty good, and the model, the creature model and the costume and the effects for the witch herself were actually quite impressive. They were actually some of the better, practical creature effects that the series had to offer. So that was good, But the pacing and the ending sort of left me feeling a bit disappointed. Like, I didn't quite understand like what led us to this specific end, even though I was hoping for an upset of expectations. I did not get that. And the ending that we did receive was just kind of like, okay, why we're leading back to the minor antagonist? And why are they doing this? What was their part? What was their part that they played in all of this? If there was any part that I have missed, it must have been of such vital importance that to look away for even a split second was catastrophic. With that being said, if there's a linchpin part of the narrative that was that important, well, then I have to criticize the writing of the episode for making something just so monumentally important that you couldn't possibly not be aware of it for such a short span of time that it kind of compromises everything afterwards. But yeah, so these two, as they are, like I said, like, okay, sort of like knowledge beyond man's understanding or terror from like either the realm of madness or another dimension. Okay, yeah, these are adaptations from H.P. Lovecraft to the letter, and yeah, not too much more than that. They're decent. Like I said, everything is, like, for Pickman's model, it just needs some edit work. And the ending for Dreams in the Witch House was really kind of made things unbalanced for some reason. So beyond that, I could say that like these are definitely not among my favorites of the series, but production-wise, they're actually still fairly good. They're fairly impressive. So, okay. Now, leading into episodes 7 and 8. So, we'll get back to that. And just in time for Halloween 2022. So, yes, thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Have you seen episodes 5 and 6? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.